Hey everybody, in this quick video I would like to introduce you to some digital rendering kung fu tricks. You might have noticed that I already, since the beginning of the semester, teach digital rendering, not the typical make a quick rendering, but more in the mentality of instead of doing digital rendering, we're doing digital 3D photography. So we borrow a lot of techniques from actual studio photography. So for example, I have an object, and then I can, for example, add a plane. So it's grounded, and it gives me some shadows on the ground. I have a very basic background illumination turned on, which we can do in our case. And we can add some lights, because without the lights, the object looks kind of bland, pretty flat. So we need something that creates contrast. And the lights are perfect for that. And you also see with the lights, then the reflections on the pipes are much better because this area of the pipe reflects the bright ground. This area reflects the grayish color of my background. The object itself, so let's say the table, not the table, the chair top is good, but the little pipes are not very good. So we could, for example, add some reflection boards, what we do in photography as well, just to add more content to it. And fortunately, we have the ability to decide that something only should show up, for example, in the reflection of an object, but shouldn't really show up in the camera or should not cast any shadow. So now you see our legs actually look a lot better. But there are two problems. The back leg is pretty bland. It's lacking a little bit something, and here the chair has a reflection of this part. So what can I do now? Well, for example, instead of using such a big board which affects the shell, maybe it might make more sense to add some smaller boards and simply get them closer to our object, like here. And then I can play around them a little bit more. So now you see this is there, and here I have a little bit more of definition. Maybe here I want to move those back a little bit, so I just get a little bit onto that chair, not too much. So that looks good. The only problem is, however, I see this reflection element also here. So if I move this one to there, the reflection from the pipe is gone, but I still see it on the chair. And this way doesn't make any sense because it is in front of it. But I want a nice reflection on the rim of the pipe. So what can I do? Well, it's actually pretty easy. What we have to do in such a case, we simply make one normal rendering. So for example, I just do a screenshot, and then with Shift B, for example, we can select the area that seems not to be good. Let's say like this area. And then the piece we do not want to be in the rendering, we can, for example, for the moment, put onto a different layer so it doesn't show up. And then I do another rendering there. And then save the image. And then, for example, in an image manipulation app, I will use my trusted Pixelmator again. Then we can bring this one in. For example, I have to remove all these parts I don't want. There and there. Okay. And then I can try and see and figure out where does this piece actually fit onto. This sometimes is very easy when we turn this one into a slightly transparent object, so we can nicely match. There, see, there's an object I can use. Okay, and there we are, perfect. So this is quite well placed, but you see it overrides this area there. So all I need to do is now, well, I can use my eraser and simply Erase, come on, erase. I had something else selected. I can erase this area, what I don't need. For example, all this, because I only want actually the shell. And there we have it. So now basically we composed two different renderings together onto one. Because this all goes back to giving an illusion. There's actually another element I just noticed I don't really like. I really don't like this reflection of the pipe maybe up there, just where my mouse is. So I will even put this one away and just make a quick snapshot. Okay, and bring this in. And then let's see, can we quickly position this one correctly? Maybe there. Okay, this is good. And let's try and erase everything that's not needed. There, and when we do an eraser, try to work, for example, with a nice soft brush, because then you have nice and soft transitions. There, we can compare this with this and this. Here you can clearly see that actually in terms of the chair, this one looks a lot more interesting. While this is maybe more realistic, but this swirl line is kinda distracting. So if we want to get rid of it, that then would basically be the technique to do it. And here I will just erase this even a little bit more. There. Okay. So again, you can approach digital rendering photography in the terms of trying to be very realistic and accurate, or what you rather should do, try to be realistic but yet pay attention to the artistic effect of your object. What are you expressing? What story are you telling? And then, like a photographer who is limited to gravity or physics, we don't have that limitation and we can simply do what we want. And talking about realism, there's one last element I would like to show you. I want to bring those back actually onto the correct layer. There. So you see I added a small seeding onto that shell, pretty easy. If somebody is curious how you could quickly get, for example, something folded over an object, it's actually quite simple. So I subdivide this one, subdivide and subdivide, so it's nice and fine. You see this object is right above the chair. And the trick is now turn on snapping face, and then in edit mode you want this and this to be turned on. Perfect. And then G and Z and hold control, and you see it doesn't really do what I want, because in this case we should actually be in top view. And here I go to this view so you can see what will happen. So in the left view I press G and Z, hold control, and you see it snaps all down. There and there on there. And then, for example, next step, E, extrude it up, E, extrude it up, add actually a subdivision surface modifier, and there we are. So that's basically the way how I created that quick pillow. And also for a little bit of added realism, there I just created a very basic geometry that seems like to go into the shell of the chair. It's not really modeled together, it's just put to there, so there's no real edge, but for the rendering this is fine. And this actually makes this look a little bit more refined. This feels a little bit brutish, And there, for example, we have a little bit of a transition between these two shells. Yeah, and that's basically everything I wanted to show you.